Well, shalom, family. Welcome to H2HDI. My name is Elder Joshua Malara. Just want to encourage you, equip you with the words of Yahuah on how to stay in tune with the Triune. Just want to thank you and welcome you all. And if you're watching for the first time, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, the share button, and you can go to our archives to understand fully where we're coming from and where we're going to. We're pressing towards the mark of the high calling. And some of us in the church realm have used that term so loosely that we've been saying the high calling is the fivefold realm. Some of us have been saying it's the office of a prophet, it's the office of an apostle, or it's the giftings of the Spirit or the fruits of the Spirit. But in reality, if you're watching this, your purpose, your main goal, if you're working out your own salvation with fear and trembling, you're pressing into the Father. His name is Yahuah. What is his son's name? Yahushua. So without no further ado, just want to thank you and welcome you all to H2HDI. We've been having a wonderful time here breaking bread, both father and son. The father of the house is Yahuah, but the set man of the house's father is Menachem Yah, also known as Dr. Robert Gonzalez. I am a servant son here in the house. My name is, again, Josh Malara. But one thing I've been noticing is that the more I'm breaking bread with this man, the more I'm receiving, the more I'm imparting, the more you're going to start seeing that there's a development taking place within your own soul, a process. I was talking with somebody about process, and what was interesting, as I was telling a fellow brother of mine, a fellow friend, I said, you're going to have to go through the process and stop bucking like a donkey. Because when you put on the weight, you're going to start feeling more weight, but it's not weight where you're going to be burdened down. It's more of a weight where the pressure will cause you to press in more and for you to stop bucking the weight, the kabod that the Father's trying to instill into you. So what's interesting today is that we have a lot of church leaders, a lot of church pastors, and they've been promoting and saying we're the kingdom, but yet they go to a church building. We're the kingdom, but yet, we say one to another, God bless you, but yet we're not equipping one another with, as iron sharpens iron, with the words of Yahuah. So we're just coming into a place of gathering together on Sunday, and instead of sharpening one's faith, we're just saying, oh, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. I haven't seen you in a long time. And we got to be careful with that because, again, one thing I've learned in my training, in my growing up, in my maturity, I've been noticing is that I've been craving more maturity. Have you ever just sat down and just wanted to say, lately I've been craving more of Yahuah. I've been thinking about him. Even at work, I stopped putting on, and yes, I'll listen to music that doesn't manifest the Father, so to speak, but I'll listen to music that's instrumental, but I know it doesn't bear witness. Why? Because I'm beginning to develop a better taste for him, for kingdom things. But lately what I've been going through is separating my own spirit, soul, and body, so therefore I'm not drawn more into carnality. You're going to be dealing with a lot of people in your work, or even if you go grocery shopping, that if you're not careful, you're going to start being enticed, being influenced by their carnality, by their soulish, and some of them you can actually see are actually initiated from the realm of the spirit. But yet those who walk in the Spirit will know who and identify more like the Father, like a son here in this earth, here in this house. So what was interesting was that I was just researching about what we were going through in our TerrorBite, and all day yesterday and today I was just thinking, man, what Apostle was saying about the 7 heads and 10 horns. He told me, Josh, that's a vast thing to go through. And I said, you're right. You can't, and he told me you can't get it in one day. You got to go through time, through years of process. And I said, whew, that's a lot of time to process. But what was interesting was that we were breaking bread, and one of the horns, so to speak, that drew my attention was a king. His name was Solomon. But what was interesting is that I was beginning to read more in 1 Kings at his later end years about what was going on with him, why his spirit, his soul, and his body was beginning to do more deceptive things in the eyes of Yahuah, really evil stuff. And what was interesting was that I was like, man, what caused Solomon to do all this? He was led by all the wives, led by all the concubines, and he was starting to lose sight and lose vision of what the covenant was with his father and what he was supposed to live out as a son. But the father can use anybody. He can use a donkey to talk to a king to tell him, all right, enough, you can't curse this land. Balaam. Anyways. But what was interesting was that it spoke to me because I said, wow, it's amazing that if you remove the structure, you remove the foundations, you remove all of that, and you're going to have one person start to backfall into what they identify as carnality, what they identify as soul, but then they were trying to backtrack and move on into the realm of spirit. And that's a hard task. That's like you riding a horse. You get injured, okay, and then some of you, I'm saying myself, can actually go through a process where that injury can take us away from getting back on the horse and continue to move on and press in. But what I'm trying to say is that within our research, within our study, we got to be careful what we're researching too. Because even Apostle actually told me, you study long, you can study wrong. Did you know that? So there was a lot of things he was telling me, researching about me in the area where he saw my lack. He was seeing where I was walking and where I was heading. So that's why we need to have fathers in our faith to impart into us for us to stay in the realm, in the parameters of truth. First 5 books of the Bible, then the prophetic books, and then the writings, and then the Brit Hadashah, the renewed covenant. So if we're not careful, then we're going to continue to move on and to believing that everything we're doing right may be evil in the sight of Yahuah. So let's continuing on. And one thing I've been noticing is that when he was discussing that this TerrorBite last night, I noticed he said, Josh, you got to stay in the parameters of spirit. Yes, you're going to go through the process. Don't neglect the process, because sons do not neglect process. They go through it to achieve the end result, that once they achieve what they were desiring, then they can produce and manifest more of the Father, Yahuah. So he said to me, I say then, in Galatians chapter 5, verse 16, we're going to start right there. I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lusts of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. These are contrary to one another, so that you do not do these things that you wish. But, verse 18, if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Not under the law of sin and death, but under the Spirit. You're free. Now, the works of the flesh are evident, which are idolatry, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contention, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heresies, verse 21, envy, murders, drunkenness, rivalries, and the like, of which I tell you beforehand, just as I also told you in time past, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of Yah. And what's interesting is that you start studying the Old Testament, you start studying where people who were in covenant, they actually had kingdoms. Solomon, again, but yet if you actually begin to see what was going on with Solomon, he was beginning to have his heart love foreign women. In chapter 1 of First King, chapter 11, verse 1 in First Kings, it says, but King Solomon loved many foreign women, as well as the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, excuse me if I'm saying that wrong, and Hittites, from the nations of whom Yahuah had said to the children, you shall not intermarry with them, nor they with you. Surely they will turn away your hearts after their gods. Solomon clung to these in love. So if we're not careful, as I said in times past, the thoughts, the ideas that you have that you think are of Yah may become idols, and we got to cast those down. But what was amazing was that as I was beginning to research about the Moabites, and then what Solomon was doing, he was exchanging and forsaking the covenant of his father that David did with Yahuah in order to be more like flesh. So if you look right here, Moabites mean of what father? Hebrews 41:25. Of what father? It wasn't the father Yahuah. He was trading and exchanging the covenant, so therefore he has love with foreign women who knew nothing about Torah, who don't even want to hear about it. But yet he continued to create shrines, and if you continue to read on chapter 11 of 1 Kings, you're going to begin to see what each and every one of those attributes of what he was doing, because his attitude towards Yahuah then became wicked and evil. So continuing on. So in the 5 of the tribes that he intermarried with, listen to this. The next one, Ammonites. Hebrews 59:83, and they were a tribal people who offer human sacrifices. Sounds like human trafficking today. Edomites, meaning they were red people. Hebrews 1:23. And then Sidonians, which is Hebrews 67:22, meaning a hunting. And also the Hittites, Hebrews 28:50. They were violence, disarray, terror, broken into pieces, and dread. So if he was exchanging everything that his father David was already in covenant with Yahuah with, he traded everything and decided to do evil in the eyes of Yahuah, and then have an exchange where now Israel now became a pagan land unto Yahuah. So now let's categorize this. If we're Israel, the promised seed, our body, our flesh will want to do things that satisfy the flesh, not the things that satisfy the spirit. Continuing on, and let's go to back to Galatians 5, verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law. And those who are Mashiachs have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live in the Spirit, let us walk in the Spirit. Let us not come conceited, provoking one another, envying one another. And I know it's hard walking in the Spirit, but yet we have to set, Pops always tells me, Apostle always tells me here, set aside a time and a place where it's you and Yahuah, not you and your soul, not you and your flesh, not you and what you think intellect is okay with. It's incorrect. You got to set a time and a place where you're going to be intimate with Yahuah. I woke up this morning today before work, and I woke up at 3:30 really early, and I said, all right, Father, thank you for this time. I prayed my Shema Israel, Yahuah, and I just thanked the Father, and I said, okay, help me to keep myself away from fleshly men, but help me, and not to indulge in their conversations, but help me to just stay focused at work. And what was amazing is that he answered that prayer, and from, I kid you not, from the time I woke up all the way to 4:30, I never took a nap today, because he wanted me to crucify my flesh, crucify discipline, and crucify the soulish realm that loves sleep, in order for me to produce righteousness. Sometimes, the majority of the time, righteousness is not only what you say, but it's also what you do. It's not easy crucifying the flesh, but when you are willing to crucify the flesh, die to the flesh, and you're able to see yourself not as Solomon, but as Mashiach in you, therefore you're going to have an easier walk to identify and start to see the kingdom manifest within your own life. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it's a process. Is it a process well worth living? Yes. And take it from experience is that when I'm saying it's a process, meaning you're not going to stop until the time comes where the Father says, "Well done, my good and faithful servant, enter in to the kingdom." So until we see each other again, just want to thank you and welcome you all to H2HDI. My name again is Elder Joshua Malara. Just want to help you and encourage you to how to stay in tune with the Triune, Yahuah the Father, Yahuah the Son, and the Ruach Kadosh, the set-apart Spirit. Amen? And please continue to subscribe for more content such as our TerrorBites hosted by Apostle Robert Gonzalez, where he encourages you and teaches you how to become a threat, a terror, and a revenger to the kingdom of darkness. And we also have our Sabbath live stream every Saturday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., which I encourage you get your pens, your papers ready for notes, because every time, the Father is just speaking through the servant son, the set man of the house, it's time to research what he's saying this day. Amen. And don't forget, we also have from our beloved matriarch who is not here. She's absent of the body, but in the presence of Yahuah as she has entered into the kingdom. Let Isha Speak, where she encourages women, wives, warriors, daughters, and even sons of the Most High with the words of Yahuah in the Psalms, in Proverbs. And I encourage you, if you begin to hear what she's saying, it's uplifting, it's encouraging, it's a love letter from a mother to a son. And you're the son in this hour, are you not? So until we see each other again, just want to thank you once again. Be baruched this day. And don't forget to continue to subscribe to H2HDI for more content every Saturday from 12 p.m. Continue watching, get your pens, your papers ready. And please go in our archives to watch Hail Zeus Krishna and how you're going to be able to see the origins of how the name Jesus Christ came to be. Because when we began to research from our walk from Christianity, we used Jesus, but yet we understood, there's a Jesus in Christianity, but yet what's the difference between the Jesus and the Church of Christ of Latter-day Saints? What's the difference in the Jesus between Jehovah's Witness? That's when I started to get more serious in my walk, and I wanted to say, Father, what's the difference between Jesus in those three arenas and your name, Yeshua? So until we see each other again, just want to thank you, welcome you here at H2HDI. You're more than welcome to continue to come back for more content to come. So until we see each other again, be Baruch. Shalom.